Okay, so let's dive right in. Imagine this, right? You're just like on a crowded train, maybe scrolling on your phone, maybe staring out the
Oh,
window.
just a normal commute.
Exactly. And then, boom, reality just it tears itself apart. Everything normal vanishes. And it's replaced by something, well, horrifying, governed by these rules you can't even begin to grasp, enforced by these beings that feel less like aliens and more like, I don't know, twisted storytellers.
That really is the core shock, isn't it? It's not a slow burn, not something you can maybe prepare for. It's instantaneous. Reality just snaps.
Right. The ground just vanishes beneath your feet. And the first question isn't even what's happening. It's more like, what is this? Followed really fast by, how do I even survive?
And that's where this deep dive gets really interesting. Because our protagonist, Kim Dokkaebi, he's not completely blindsided like everyone else.
No, he's got this unbelievable, terrifying advantage. He's the only person on that train, maybe in the world, who knows exactly what's happening.
Because it's the world of a web novel. A
Yeah.
story he spent, 10 years reading? And he just finished it.
Unbelievable. And we've got excerpts here from Chapter 3 of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, which is just a pivotal foundational chapter.
It really is. So our mission today is to unpack every single bit of this. We'll look at that immediate chaos, the panic.
And how Kim Dokkaebi's unique view, his reader's perspective, lets him navigate it differently.
We'll see characters he only knew from the page suddenly standing right there,
Mm-hmm.
which is, unsettling to say the least.
And then the really brutal part, how this new game world, as he starts to call it, lays down its horrifying rules, the sheer ruthlessness of it all.
This chapter really nails down the premise. It slams the door on the old world hard.
Yeah, no going back. And it makes it crystal clear what kind of game this is and just how uniquely positioned and maybe uniquely burdened our protagonist is. So let's jump right into that moment right after reality breaks.
Okay, so this creature, the dokkaebi, from folklore, usually tricksters, but here they're like cosmic enforcers.
Right, these chaotic rule givers. It appeared, dropped this bombshell announcement, and then poof, vanished. What happens immediately after?
Well, source says people reacted differently after the dokkaebi disappeared. Some people tried to get out of the train while others called the police.
Sounds about right. Classic human responses to crisis.
Absolutely. You're hit with something utterly incomprehensible. So you default, right? Either primal instinct, get out, escape the immediate danger zone, the flight response.
Or you default to the system, call the police. That's what you do when things go wrong. Rely on the established order.
Even when the problem is so far outside anything that order was designed to handle, your
Yeah.
brain just scrambles for a familiar solution.
And of course, neither works. The doors won't open, the police lines are dead. That silence after the dokkaebi vanishes must be thick with dread.
Oh, definitely. That awful pause where your mind is still catching up to what you just saw. And we see that perfectly with Usanga.
Ah, yes. The source says, you Sangha belong to the latter group. The police aren't answering. What should I?
She really becomes the stand-in for the average person here, doesn't she?
I think so. She represents everyone who's completely unprepared, whose world relies on those systems, police, safety nets, and seeing them fail instantly just sends her reeling.
Her distress isn't just her own panic. It highlights the total immediate breakdown of society itself. That safety net is just gone.
And there's that detail about her eyes. Kim Dokkaebi is staring straight into Yu Sanga's unfocused eyes.
That's such a great detail. It's not just description. It tells you her mind is just scattered. She's looking, but she can't process. Her whole framework for understanding reality just shattered.
And this is where Kim Dokkaebi makes his first move. And it's fascinating because he's not panicking like everyone else. He has this weird, almost unnatural calm.
Right. He says, "Calm down, Usanga-see," I said, staring straight into Usanga's unfocused eyes. Usanga-see. Have you ever played the game that the development team made? A game where the world is destroyed and only a few people survive?
It's his first real attempt to use his knowledge, to exert some influence. But it's not about shouting orders or being physically imposing.
No, it's about offering a framework. He tries to connect this cosmic horror to something maybe she can grasp, something from the modern world, a survival game.
That's smart, in a way, trying to give her a mental hook. And the details matter, right? The game that the development team made. Even now, it hints at the meta-narrative. This isn't random chaos. It's designed, constructed.
And the description of the game is spot on for their situation. World is destroyed, only a few people survive. It's chillingly accurate.
It's a psychological play. Calling it a game It doesn't lessen the danger, obviously, but maybe, just maybe, it makes the horror slightly less unfathomable. It gives it rules, structure, even if that structure is terrifying.
And you see it land, sort of. Her reaction, oh, what do you say? Think about it. We are in a game right now. Yusanga silently licked her lips. Game.
She's confused, naturally, but the word game clicks something. She repeats it. It's sinking in. It's a horrible box to put this in, but it's a box. Pulls her out of that total disorientation, maybe just a little.
And he uses that moment, her confusion, her desperation for any guidance. He takes charge. It is simple. Don't hesitate to do as I tell you. Understood. You understood. What should I do? Stay still.
Stay still. That's so counterintuitive in a disaster, isn't it? Usually it's run, hide, fight.
But it shows his specific kind of knowledge. He's not relying on instinct. He's relying on knowing the script, or thinking he does. Maybe moving is exactly the wrong thing, according to the hidden rules. Maybe staying put is necessary for the next event.
His confidence isn't based on strength or charisma here. It's purely based on information he read.
Exactly. The confidence of the reader who knows the plot. But the text pulls back immediately. Reminds us he's human too. Finally, I slowly controlled my breathing. I too needed time to properly accept all of this.
That's so important, that calm exterior. It's effort. He's managing his own shock, his own terror. He has to consciously process that his favorite story just became real.
It makes him much more relatable. He's not some detached observer. He's in it, feeling it, just processing it differently because he has this impossible context.
Yeah, it adds that layer of vulnerability. He's coping just like everyone else, but with this extra layer of surreal knowledge.
So that opening exchange, it sets up so much. The chaos, the normal reactions, the protagonist's unique knowledge-based calm, his internal struggle, and his first attempt to lead using that reader identity. Perfect setup.
Okay, let's catch our breath. Micro recap time. So, reality shatters, train carriage erupts in panic, people try old solutions calling police, escape, but nothing works.
Enter our protagonist, Kim Duksha. He's strangely calm because, unbelievably, he recognizes this chaos. It's the world of a web novel he just finished reading.
He tries to ground the terrified Yusanga by framing it as a game, a horrifying game, but a framework nonetheless. He gives her a counterintuitive command, stay still, based purely on his knowledge of the story.
But we also see he's not superhuman. He's controlling his own breathing, struggling to accept this new reality, just like anyone would. Remember that image? Yusanga's unfocused eyes versus Duksha's controlled breathing. That's the core contrast right at the start.
And it's right after this, as he's managing his own shock, that he gets undeniable proof. The source is explicit. 3 ways to survive in a ruined world. The descriptions that existed only in the novel were now unfolding right before my eyes.
Naming the novel right there. It's not subtle. The title of the fiction is the name of their reality now. That meta element is front and center.
And that phrase, unfolding right before my eyes, it's so direct. It's not like, oh, this reminds me of the book. It's the book is happening now.
Yeah, the boundary's just gone. And the text gives these specific, really visceral examples of what he's seeing, things described in the novel. The dokkaebi stretched out its antenna, the body scattered like trash in the carriage, the bloodied office worker shaking, an old lady groaning in her seat.
Ugh, these details are rough. The dokkaebi's antenna makes it physically real, almost insectoid or alien.
And bodies scattered like trash. That's just brutal. Instantly sets the tone for how little human life is worth in this new world. Dehumanizing.
Plus, the shaking worker, the groaning lady, you get the sounds, the sights, the immediate trauma. It's not abstract. It's right there.
And he uses a fantastic reference point to explain his own mental process while witnessing this. I watched every scene intently. It was like Neo in The Matrix who suspected reality.
The Matrix. That's perfect. It immediately clicks, right? He's not just passively observing. He's analyzing, looking for the patterns, the confirmation that this impossible thing is real. Like Neo seeing the glitches, trying to understand the code underneath.
He's actively verifying. It's a process. Observing, questioning, and then eventually being convinced. I had to admit it. I didn't know the reason why, but there were no doubts about it. Ways of survival had become a reality.
It's not just a sudden jump to belief. It's a conclusion reached through evidence, however horrifying that evidence is. No doubts about it, that's the moment the new paradigm locks in. The story isn't like reality, it is reality.
And once that certainty hits, his focus shifts immediately. It becomes pragmatic. His next thought. Let me think. How should I survive in this new world?
Not if he can survive, but how. That knowledge, that terrible confirmation, instantly becomes his primary tool. his survival manual.
He's not just a victim anymore. He's trying to become a player who knows the rulebook, or at least thinks he knows the rulebook.
Yeah, this whole sequence is just foundational, confirms the premise, makes the horror tangible, and establishes Dokkaebi's unique approach, survival through knowledge.
So, just as he's grappling with this, the fact that the novel is real, someone from the novel shows up.
Right, and maybe not exactly when he expected them. The text says, "Come on, everybody. Everybody calm down. Start breathing calmly." Someone stepped forward exactly 5 minutes after the dokkaebi disappeared.
5 minutes. That specific timing feels significant, maybe? Could be part of the scenario's design or just how the story flows.
And this guy makes an entrance. He was a sturdy man with short-cut hair, one head taller than the average height, physically imposing, stands out.
He steps into that leadership void, and he tries to bring order using language people understand or used to understand.
Oh.
Are you calm yet? Please stop your actions and pay attention to me for a moment. As you know, in the event of a national disaster. That's why I will now control this situation.
He's using the national disaster script, trying to leverage that built-in respect for authority, for official procedure, and people are desperate, so it kind of works at first.
But not everyone buys it immediately. Some pushback. Who are you?
Yeah.
A national disaster situation? What are you saying? They resist the word control.
Which is understandable. But then he pulls out the trump card from the old world. Then the young man pulled a government official card out of his wallet. I'm currently an Army lieutenant serving in the 6502 unit.
Ah, the military ID. The uniform, the rank, symbols of order, protection. You see the reaction. Some people's faces became relieved. A soldier. He is a soldier.
They're clinging to that familiar structure. The military handles disasters. It's a brief moment of, okay, maybe someone is in charge.
But the narrator immediately warns us, the readers, don't fall for it. However, it was too early to be relieved. That builds tension, tells us this reliance is misplaced.
And the soldier reinforces his authority, showing a message on his phone. I just received a message from my unit. A level 1 national disaster situation has occurred. All troops gather quickly.
Seems official, right? Level 1 disaster.
Yeah.
Sounds serious. People gulp. It confirms their worst fears, but within a framework they recognize. A really bad disaster, but one the army is supposed to handle.
But our protagonist, Kim Dokkaebi, he's not surprised by the message. He already knows the world is ending. What surprises him is the messenger.
Exactly, he thinks. I wasn't surprised because I had already expected this. In fact, I was surprised because of something else. Army Lieutenant Lee Hunsung. That Lee Hunsung was this man.
He knows the name, Lee Hunsung, from the novel. His shock isn't the disaster, it's seeing this specific person enacting this role right here, right now.
And he knows more than just the name. He knows his significance in the story. I knew who he was. He was one of the main supporting actors of Ways of Survival. Steel Sword Lee Hunsung.
Wow. A main supporting actor. And he even knows his title from the novel, Steel Sword. This isn't just some random soldier. This is a character, a key player.
Seeing him there, in person, that's the ultimate confirmation. A character from the novel had appeared. Now I really had to acknowledge the situation.
It's one thing to see settings and events match the book, but seeing a character walk off the page, that seals it. The fiction is undeniably real.
And crucially, as we'll see, when Lee Hansung appears, is just as important as the fact that he appears at all. It introduces the first major complication for Dokkaebi's knowledge.
Okay, quick pause again. Mini recap number 2. So Dokkaebi confirms the novel is real through visceral details, even comparing himself to Neo seeing the Matrix. Then, bam, a character from the novel, Lee Hansung, the Steel Sword, appears.
Right. He tries to take charge using his military authority, framing it as a national disaster, which offers some false comfort initially.
But for Dokkaebi, the big shock isn't the disaster, it's seeing Lee Hansung himself. A character has crossed over. This confirms the novel's reality, but crucially, Lee Hansung is here earlier than Dokkaebi expected based on the book. That's the first big sign that his knowledge might not be perfectly predictive. Remember the soldier's ID versus Dokkaebi's internal recognition of the steel sword?
So Lee Hansung is trying to manage the situation, sticking to his national disaster framework. People are bombarding him with questions he can't answer.
Yeah, questions about contacting his unit, about the Blue House, the president, desperate calls for the old power structures. Nozer Nim, what is happening? Please contact the president quickly.
And his answers just highlight how powerless those structures now are. I'm sorry, I am just an ordinary soldier and don't have a hotline to the Blue House. His authority, based on a system that just dissolved, is effectively zero.
But Dokkaebi notes something interesting here. As Lee Hyun-sung calmly responded to the absurd questions, I realized that the descriptions in the novel weren't wrong.
Meaning, Lee Hyun-sung the person is acting consistently with Lee Hyun-sung the character from the novel. His personality, his sense of duty, his attempts to help, even when out of his depth, that matches what Dokkaebi read.
So the character's right, but the timing isn't, and that's the part that really throws Dokkaebi. However, did Lee Hyun-sung originally appear like this? As the only reader of Ways of Survival, I could assure you that Lee Hyun-sung's first appearance wasn't like this. The point at which he appeared in the novel was at the end of the first scenario.
This is a huge deal for him. His entire advantage rests on knowing the plot. If a major supporting character shows up before the first main event is even properly defined or resolved, what else is different? It casts doubt on his entire roadmap.
It genuinely rattles him. He thinks, ooh, then what was this situation? My mind became confused. I would know more clearly if I could read Ways of Survival once again.
See? His immediate instinct when faced with uncertainty is, go back to the source material, consult the novel. It underscores his total reliance on it and foreshadows just how critical that text will become.
Meanwhile, the remnants of the old world are making one last, desperate attempt to control the narrative. Someone shouts about the Prime Minister giving a speech.
Yeah, everyone turned on their smartphones. The first result for all portal sites was Prime Minister's speech. The government's trying to use mass communication, their usual tools, pushing their message out on major Korean web portals like Naver.
And the message itself is just tragically out of touch. To all my fellow citizens, unidentified terrorists are currently active. Thus, everyone should confidently continue with their lives.
Unidentified terrorists. It's almost laughably inadequate, isn't it? Calling these reality-bending dokkaebi terrorists and telling people to carry on as normal. It shows how completely they fail to grasp the situation.
Dokkaebi's reaction is telling. He knew this was coming from the novel, but hearing it now, living it. I hadn't thought much of it when I read the novel, but now I was a bit shocked when hearing those words. Terrorism. Yes, that would be more comfortable.
That cynicism is powerful. He recognizes the absurdity. The lie of terrorism is almost preferable, more comforting than the actual incomprehensible horror they're facing. It highlights the gap between reading about a catastrophe and living through it.
And while the official narrative fails, rumors spread online. People are desperate for any information, even from comments. But where is the president? The president has already been hit. What? Really? I'm not sure. A never comment. Shit, then it is fake.
They're swinging between belief and disbelief, clutching at digital straws on Naver. But then Dokkaebi internally confirms the worst rumor. Of course, I knew it wasn't a fake comment. His knowledge is absolute, terrible certainty compared to the public's confusion.
And then the government's narrative, the illusion of control, it doesn't just fail, it gets violently obliterated.
Oh yeah, this is the moment everything breaks.
What?
People dropped their phones as gunshots were heard from all over. It originated from their smartphones.
From the phones themselves. That's terrifying. And the violence is coming through the communication device.
Cheek, there was a loud sound and blood filled the screen. Prime Minister.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister had died. His head had exploded in real time.
Public execution, live, broadcast through the very devices trying to push the government's message. It's brutal, symbolic, and utterly undeniable. The old authority is not just irrelevant, it's been violently erased.
And the silence after is instantly filled by the true power. The dokkaebi appears on screen. Everyone, I've told you already, this isn't a game like terrorism. People were at a loss for words as their mouths gaped open like dumb goldfish.
They openly mock the failed terrorism explanation. And that similarly, dumb goldfish, it's so cruel, captures that stunned, helpless silence. People literally cannot process what just happened.
And the dokkaebi twists the knife. Do you still not understand? This won't do. Do you still feel like this is a game? It's pure taunting, rubbing their faces in their helplessness and confusion.
What a devastating sequence. The complete violent end of the old world's illusion and the undeniable arrival of the new cruel masters.
And having established their absolute power by, exploding the Prime Minister's head on live TV, the dokkaebi then lays out the actual rules.
Yeah, and the tone is just chilling. The source says it felt so ominous because his tone was so relaxed. Dokkaebi feels it too. Subconsciously, I made a fist using all my strength.
That contrast is key. The dokkaebi sounds casual, almost amused. Haha, according to the data, the people of this country are very good at games, so why don't I try raising the difficulty?
Using Korean gaming culture against them. Twisting a national pastime into a justification for cruelty. It frames the whole apocalypse as just entertainment for these beings. And Dokkaebi's clenched fist shows the tension, the suppressed fear or anger under his surface.
Then the mechanics appear. Explicitly, beep! A huge timer appeared in the air. The remaining time has been decreased by 10 minutes. There are 10 minutes remaining.
The sound, the visual timer counting down, immediate pressure, and they just casually cut the time, showing their arbitrary power.
And then the rule itself.
Huh?
The core of this first scenario is horror. If the first killing doesn't occur within the next 5 minutes, all lives in that carriage will be wiped out.
Kill anyone in 5 minutes, or everyone dies. It's an impossible choice designed to instantly shatter trust, force betrayal, and break people down.
The reaction is exactly what you'd expect. Pure panic. What is this? Is it a joke?
Right?
Soldier Nim, what do we do now? Why isn't the police coming?
People are still looking for external help, for authority. Lee Hyeon-sung tries to calm them. Everyone calm down and listen to me. But it's useless.
The dokkaebi's rules just instantly override everything. His authority means nothing now, and Yusanga clings to Dokkaebi again, gripping my collar tightly. He's her only anchor.
But even now, even with this immediate death sentence hanging over them, Dokkaebi's mind is still on the novel's plot holes. It's incredible.
Isn't it? He thinks, still, I couldn't shake off the incongruity. Lee Hyeon-sung had already appeared.
Yeah.
So why hadn't he emerged? According to what I knew, I should have seen him by now.
Lee Hyeon-sung's early arrival is one problem, but the absence of someone else, that guy, is even more worrying to him. This unnamed he is clearly crucial to the story Dokkaebi knows.
Almost certainly the original protagonist of Ways of Survival. His absence is a massive deviation, suggesting Dokkaebi's role might be shifting from observer to something else entirely. This missing piece is more critical to his understanding than the immediate kill-or-be-killed rule.
And while he's puzzling over this, the rule gets enforced elsewhere. They see it happen. There's a murder back there. A scene from the 3907 train car could be seen. The complexion of the killer in that carriage was white.
Someone broke. The pressure worked. And that detail, the killer's white face, conveys the horror, the shock, the trauma of being forced to do that, like seeing a ghost. It proves the rule is real and deadly.
People in their carriage react instinctively, trying to barricade themselves. We have to keep them out. Don't let anyone in.
Still thinking in terms of physical threats from outside. But the threat isn't other people breaking in. It's the system itself, forcing violence from within. Their barricade is pointless.
And the system makes that clear. All types of access to the carriage will be restricted until the scenario is complete. Along with this message, people were thrown back from the iron door like they had hit a transparent barrier.
An invisible wall. Another scenario mechanic, physically enforcing the boundaries. You are locked in with this rule until it's resolved. No escape.
The dokkaebi then decides to provide a demonstration. A special service, it calls it, dripping with sadistic glee.
Okay, this is a special service. I will show you what will happen if nothing occurs in the next 5 minutes. They're going to show the penalty for failure, live, to ensure compliance through terror.
And the setup is chilling. A giant screen appeared in the subway. The place that appeared on the screen was a classroom. Girls in their navy blue school uniform were shaking.
That screen just materializing. Impossible technology. And showing a classroom. Innocent schoolgirls. It grounds the horror in something deeply relatable, making it even worse. Someone even recognizes the uniform. Is that the school uniform of Deepon? Makes it feel close. Real.
Then the countdown ends. Beep, burp, beep. An ominous beeping sound was heard. The given time has run out. Paid settlement will begin.
Paid settlement. That cold corporate jargon for mass murder is terrifying. Like defaulting on a loan, but the collateral is your life.
And the settlement is graphic. Once the announcement ended, the heads of the high school girls sitting in the front row exploded, one by one again. More and more heads exploded.
That repetition, one by one again, combined with the sound effect mentioned later, piang, piang, it emphasizes the systematic, mechanical horror. It's not chaos, it's methodical execution.
They try to escape, clawing at doors and windows, but they're trapped. Cleaning tools broke and nails were torn out, but the doors didn't open. No one could get out, utterly helpless.
And the horror escalates. It seems the pressure leads to internal violence, too, maybe as a desperate last-ditch attempt by someone before the final head pops, or just chaos. Piang, piang. Then a high school girl strangled her friend, who died with a groan.
It's just devastating. The system forces friend against friend. It mirrors the choice they face in the train, and then the final image. After a while, the only thing that remained on the screen was the last schoolgirl looking around. Hashtag Bay23515 channel, Daepong Girls High School, Year 2 Class B survivor, Lee Ji-hae.
Cold. Clinical. identified by a channel number, school, class, name, like a data point. That channel number suggests broadcasting, monitoring, maybe for other dokkaebi or something else.
And it introduces another character from the novel, Lee Ji-hye, a survivor, but look at the cost. Look at what she witnessed, what she likely had to do. Dokja knows her name from the story.
And the dokkaebi's final comment after showing this absolute nightmare, how is it? Interesting.
Chills. Just chills. Confirms their entire motivation. This is entertainment for them. Human suffering is their reality TV.
Yeah, that demonstration is brutal. It cements the dokkaebi's power, their cruelty, the deadly stakes, the possibility of being watched, and introduces another key character forged in trauma. Absolutely devastating.
Okay, let's quickly recap that horror show before we move to the aftermath. So the government's terrorism lie was brutally exposed by the PM's live execution. The dokkaebi revealed the first scenario's rule. Kill someone or everyone dies with a timer.
Then, to ensure compliance, they showed a live feed from another scenario, a classroom where the timer ran out. We saw the horrifying paid settlement, heads exploding one by one, utter panic, futile escape attempts, even friend turning on friend.
The sole survivor, Lee Ji-hye, another character Dokja recognizes from the novel, was identified by a channel number hinting at broadcasting. The dokkaebi found the whole thing interesting. Remember the dumb goldfish reaction, the one-by-one explosions, and the dokkaebi's chilling question? Those capture the essence of this section's terror.
So after witnessing that, what's the mood in Dokja's carriage? Utterly broken? The dokkaebi spoke with a smile, but people weren't looking at the screen anymore.
They can't watch. It's too much. But the horror isn't just on screen. It's real, in the carriage. The people who made eye contact were gradually moving away from each other.
That physical distancing is telling. Trust is gone. The rule is clear. Someone needs to kill someone else. Who's going to snap? Who do you turn your back on? Suddenly, everyone is a potential threat.
Even Yusanga pulls back slightly. Even Yusanga released her hold on me. However, she didn't move away from me.
It's subtle. Releasing the grip might mean a tiny bit of self-possession returning, or maybe just a different kind of fear. But staying close. She still sees Dokja as her only hope, the only one who seems to understand anything.
But Dokja, his hands now free, immediately goes back to his own puzzle. Both my hands were freed and I turned on my smartphone. Why was that guy still not showing up?
Incredible focus, isn't it? Surrounded by terror and impending death, his main concern is still the deviation from the novel's plot. The absence of that guy. The original protagonist looms larger for him than the immediate threat.
He acknowledges the problem. There was a mixture of information that I knew from the novel and information that I didn't know. His perfect foreknowledge is already compromised. Reality is diverging.
And he knows what he needs to fix it, or at least understand it. The only way to break through this situation was to read Laws of Survival again.
He needs the source text, the ultimate guide. But how? However, where else could I find the novel? The novel wasn't popular enough to be shared illegally. It seems impossible. An obscure web novel in the middle of the apocalypse.
And then the most unexpected metafictional twist happens. No, wait a minute. One attachment.
On his smartphone. Amidst cosmic horror, a simple email notification appears. It cuts through the chaos. His reaction is pure disbelief. I was stunned for a moment. Perhaps, no. I was confused the moment I opened the mail attachment.
Who could possibly be sending him an email right now? With an attachment? What could it even be?
And the answer is just staggering. The name of the attachment sent by the author was 3 Ways to Survive in a Ruined World, TXT.
The author, the actual writer of the web novel, sent him the entire text file of the story he just finished reading. This is unbelievable. The creator of the fiction just handed the sole reader the complete script for the reality they're now living in.
That file name, 3 Ways to Survive in a Ruined World.txt. It's everything. It's his map, his guide, his weapon. The narrative text itself has become a tangible object, a tool for survival within the narrative's world, given to him by the author.
It solidifies his unique position beyond doubt. He's not just the reader who knows the story. He's the reader who has the story, gifted by its creator. But it raises so many questions about that author.
Okay, let's try and pull this whole incredible chapter excerpt together. Mega recap time. The world shattered, instantly becoming the reality of the web novel Ways of Survival.
We saw panic versus our protagonist, Kim Dokja's unique calm, derived from his knowledge as the novel's only completed reader. He tried to guide others, framing it as a game.
The old world's authority collapsed spectacularly with the Prime Minister's live execution by the dokkaebi, who then revealed the brutal rules of their scenarios, kill or be killed on a timer.
A key novel character, Lee Hyun-sung, appeared early, signaling the first major deviation from the script Dokja knew.
We witnessed the horrifying consequences of scenario failure via a live demonstration in a classroom, cementing the dokkaebi's cruelty and introducing another survivor from the novel, Lee Ji-hee.
This divergence in the chaos led Dokkaebi to realize he needed the original novel text. And then, miraculously, the entire novel, 3 Ways to Survive in a Ruined World, TXT, arrived on his phone, sent as an attachment by the author themselves.
Right, so key facts for your mental flashcards on this reality.
1. Ways of Survival, the web novel, is now reality. Check.
2. Protagonist Dokkaebi is the only one who finished it, giving him unique foreknowledge. Check.
3. Old authorities. Totally useless. Dokkaebi run the show. Check.
4. Scenarios have deadly rules, timers, forced killing, mass death penalties. Check.
5. These events might be broadcast on channels. Intriguing detail. Check.
6. Novel characters, Lee Hun-sung, Lee Ji-hee, are appearing, but maybe not on schedule. Check.
7. Dokkaebi received the entire novel text from the author. Game changer. Check.
Which leaves us chewing on some big questions as listeners.
Definitely. Like, who is that guy Dokkaebi keeps expecting? The missing original protagonist. What does his absence mean for Dokkaebi's role?
And why did the author send the file? Are they helping, observing, manipulating? What's their connection to this horrific reality?
And the biggest one, maybe. If the story's already changing, how reliable is that text file? Can Dokkaebi trust his guide completely when reality is already improvising?
So if we put on our critical thinking hats for a moment,
How does being the only reader fundamentally change Dokkaebi's actions and choices compared to everyone else just reacting to the chaos? It's not just knowledge. It shapes his entire approach, doesn't it?
absolutely. And what about the dokkaebi's methods? The game framing, the public execution, the live horror show? How are these designed to psychologically break people and enforce compliance? It's more than just physical threat.
And that divergence, Lee Hun-sung Early's that guy,
Yeah.
missing. What does it suggest about this reality? Is it a fixed script playing out imperfectly? Is it interactive?
Yeah.
Can the plot be changed?
Then there's the arrival of the .txt file. What does that imply about the author's power, or the power of the story itself within this world? How does having the script change Dokkaebi's potential, his agency, his destiny?
And finally, this whole theme of knowledge as power. We see the clear advantages Dokkaebi has, but what are the dangers? Relying on a map when the territory is shifting, being the only one who knows might also make him a target or burden him immensely.
So, wrapping up our deep dive into this section of Chapter 3, we've seen the violent birth of this new world, governed by the dokkaebi's cruel game. Our protagonist is left uniquely armed.
He has the ultimate cheat sheet, the novel's text, sent by the author. But crucially, the world is already showing signs it might not stick to that script.
It really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What's it like to hold the answers to the apocalypse, only to realize the questions themselves might be changing as you read?
It's an incredibly precarious place to be. Powerful, yes, but dangerous. And the story, as they say, is really just getting started.